Last time I came here on this channel to talk to you about the visa issue, that requirement that the government of Brazil is establishing to return the demand on the Brazilian tourist visa for the nationals of the United States, Canada, and Australia. I came here with the news and I said, guys, forget it. They have postponed it again. This time is going to be for April 10th, 2024. Well, April 10th is right there on the corner. So what is the situation now? What is the update for this situation now? Is Brazil putting it off again, or it's going to really establish the requirement on April 10th? Well, I have news about this. Come with me and I will explain you everything after the intro. Hello, BU Nation. How are you all doing? Well, when President Jair Bolsonaro, the former Brazilian president, took over the office, he showed from day one that his foreign policy would be aligned to that of the United States of America. And to show his goodwill towards the Americans, he decided to completely drop any requirements of visas for the nationals of the United States. And that includes also Canada, Australia, and Japan to come into the country. So for the first time, at least as far as I know, as far as I remember, for the first time, the citizens of the United States, Canada, Australia, and Japan would not have to take a visa to come into Brazil. Well, if you ask Jair Bolsonaro why he decided to do that, his explanation was that this would give more possibilities for the citizens of those countries to travel into Brazil. It would increase the number of tourists visiting the country, and it would be, of course, consequently good for the economy of Brazil. Well, that never happened because we had a pandemic in between, and also because Jair Bolsonaro could not get re-elected on the last election of 2022. So he lost the chair to one president that used to be a president at the beginning of the 2000s, which was Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Lula was the president for the first time in two mandates, from 2003 to 2011, and he was elected again. Well, if you remember how his two mandates were back then in the decade of the 2000s, you would say that one of the first things Lula would do was to correct this, was to return with the visa requirements for the nationals of those countries, right? Why? Because historically, President Lula is not really aligned to the United States. Of course, he maintained good relations with the United States, economically and politically speaking, but the United States was not the center of the international foreign policy during the governments of Lula. So things wouldn't be different this time around. One of the things that I said to my American friends was, be prepared because this guy is going to reestablish the visa. I couldn't be more right. So last year in 2023, he decided to request the visas for these citizens again. I'm going to exclude Japan from this story because later he had an agreement with the Japanese Prime Minister where he decided to continue with the visa dropping for the citizens of Japan because the Japanese also decided to drop the requirements for the Brazilians, right? So now it's a mutual agreement and the Brazilians don't need to get a visa to go to Japan, and neither do the Japanese need to get a visa to come to Brazil, right? Well, but for the Americans, Canadians, and Australians, as I said at the beginning, the requirements would really be put in practice again. So the first date was October, I think October 3rd or 2nd, something like this last year. I came here and I made a video and I explained, guys, you will need to get a visa if you are citizens of this country. Well, for my surprise, the government decided to put that date off again, to put the requirement off again, this time around for January 10th, of this year, 2024. And why was that? Well, one of the reasons, and probably the biggest reason in my opinion, I know a lot of you will disagree, will say it's a commercial decision, but one of the reasons was that the e-visa was not working properly as expected. So the government was receiving a lot of criticism from the citizens of those countries because they just couldn't get the visa. Everything was so confusing and it dragged a lot. So the government said, okay, I need to fix this. The company that was responsible for making this visa process go is not working the way they should. So they decided to postpone again, this time around for next April 10th, 2024. Well, the day I'm recording this video is the 30th of March, so April 10th is right there on the corner. What is going to happen now? Are you guys going to need to get a visa starting by April 10th? Well, I have news on this, but before I go on, I'd like to say that if you are watching us for the first time, consider subscribing to this channel. I bring topics that involve the name of Brazil and everything that involves Brazil here, be that politics, culture, tips of restaurants, best food, how to prepare the favorite Brazilian drink. So we have everything about Brazil on this channel. Become a member, okay? By subscribing to the channel, you become a member, you will receive notifications every time a new video comes out here. I also want to say, if you really want to become a member for real and support this channel with small quantities per month, well, go check out the communities we have right here. We have 3 categories: tourists, we have residents, and we have citizens. Go check the perks out, and if any of those interest you, please support us. Okay, we also have the same conditions on Patreon. All the links are here on the description of this video. But let's come back, okay? This time around, the problem was not really a system problem, as I had said on my last video. I believed they would postpone again, and I was right again, but this time I was not right because I said the problem would be the system. The system is one of the problems, but I think the government has found a way to go around this, and they were really serious about establishing the visa back on April 10th. Well, it's not going to happen, simply because for them to do this, they have to make a decree. The executive power has to make a decree, and he has to send it to the Congress. Well, there are many congressmen that oppose Lula's idea of returning with the requirements for those nationals of those countries. They believe it's not the best thing to return it because it's going to harm tourism in the country. So they threatened to annul the decree through voting if the president continued with this idea of reestablishing the visas for those nationals. And the government of Lula decided to postpone, to put off the decision for April 10th. But next year, April 10th, 2025, is the new date so far that we have for the requirements for these nationals to get the visa to return. Well, according to Marcel van Hatten, which is the congressman who created this project of facing Lula's decision, he believes that the law of reciprocity is necessary for the foreign policy of Brazil, but there is another principle that is above the principle of reciprocity, which is the principle of the national interest. He believes that all this come and go that is making this decision a big Mexican soap opera, with all due respect to the Mexicans, but something long, right? We say the Mexican soap opera because they have many episodes. So they believe this is bringing uncertainty for the tourism segment into the country, and that's not good for the economy. So above the law of reciprocity is the law of the national interest. Having those nationals coming here is good for Brazil. We're having more and more and more Americans visiting the country. So we don't want to stop that, according to Marcel Van Hatten. Also, many of those Americans, Canadians, and Australians have a bond, a tie with Brazil, be that family tie or business tie. So we don't want to get in the way of this, right? Well, guys, we're gonna have to wait and see, right? If you ask my opinion, I don't think this law will be approved. I don't think Lula will be able to reestablish the requirement. Maybe in his mandate, I don't know what is going to happen. We're going to have an election in 2 years again and see if he's going to continue as the president. But I think he will put this in the drawer and maybe deal with more important things. And when things cool off a little, he might come back and discuss this. That's my opinion. In the meantime, you can come back and forth to Brazil as much as you can, because you won't be required to get a visa, okay? But what is your opinion? What do you think of the whole thing? Do you think Brazil is wrong? Do you think it's ridiculous, the fact that the country is requiring visas for those nationals again? Are you an American, Canadian, or Australian? How do you feel about this? Leave your comment respectfully, of course. The only thing I ask is respect. Try to understand the side and share your opinion with us, okay? It's really important. Also, subscribe to the channel, okay? I'm gonna leave 2 cards here at the end of this video for you guys to click on them, binge watch, and learn more about Brazil through this channel. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.